We are going live.
All right. What do you think, everyone? You ready?
Ready.
Okay. Well, I will introduce myself then. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Looking Up. This is going to be a little bit of a demonstration for some virtual stargazing that we've put together in these kind of strange times. So my name is Holly. I am joined by fellow Buffalo Astronomical Association members Ernie, Adam, Mike, and Dennis, and of course, Phil from Penn Dixie. So we wanted to put this together as a way to help bring together a little bit of the astronomy outreach network that we are so lucky to have here in Western New York. So keep with us on nights when the skies are cooperating. We're going to do some live stargazing for you. And even when the weather isn't working for us, we're going to have plenty of great stuff to look at. So stick with us and keep your eyes and ears open for more installments. With nothing else to say, we can go ahead and start talking to our other astronomy specialists and enjoy what you see. All right, guys, take it away.
All right, I'll take it away first here. Let me share my screen. So just let me know if everyone's seeing my screen.
Sure thing. And just so everyone knows, I've shared the link in the chat to the YouTube. So you're welcome to share it to your pages or whatever.
Okay, I'll have to do that when I'm done speaking. But welcome everyone. My name is Ernie Jacobs. I do astronomy with the BAA and Penn Dixie. I have a free program up called Stellarium, which you can get from a website called stellarium.org. And it's free planetarium software that can show you the night sky. And as you can see, we're looking towards the west. And actually, I'm going to think I have to adjust my time here. Hold on. I just reinstalled the software and it went, oh, it's saying I'm in Paris. What the heck? Sorry. It thinks this is what the night sky would look like in Paris. Maybe we could go to someone else real quick while I redo the settings in here to get the proper time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
well, I can show everybody what the clouds look like in my backyard.
Yeah, to do that.
You want me to do that? So we're looking through my telescope setup. So let's see if I share my screen. Oop,
I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, Ernie's still sharing. So
I just stopped.
okay, so hi everybody. I'm Dennis Bartkowiak. I'm the vice president of the Buffalo Astronomical Association, and we're giving this a shot for looking up here. And so I'm going to share my screen with you. This is the backyard looking through astrophotography tool at the moment. Let me just start that share, and oh, there we go. And so you're taking a look at a live view through my telescope at, well, clouds. And that's pretty much what you see here. Now, one of the reasons that you see it as kind of, well, bluish is there's a filter on my telescope. It's for light pollution. So when it gets dark, we still have lights around. And right now it's a total solid gray screen because we're probably looking at a very large cloud. I'm actually not looking at my telescope. It's outside and I'm inside. And we'll see if we can peek at a few of the clouds. I'm trying to track on the moon, and I'm going to stop the share on the clouds for a moment while we're putting stuff together. And I'm going to see if I can go ahead and share on the program that I'm using, which is Starry Night. Let's go ahead and give that a shot again here. Let's see, and we will pull up Starry Night. Okay, and so here's Starry Night from my backyard. Let's see if I can move it around just a little bit. You can see, so right now you can see that this little piece right here is where my telescope is pointed, or should be pointed. I didn't get to pull or align my scope because it was still daylight out, but it should be pointed in the general vicinity of the moon. Like should be pretty close. And I can actually move it around. So if I wanted to go up here to, let's say, Venus, let me pull it up here and we'll pull that up here. So there's Venus. I can actually slew to Venus. So I just told my telescope to slew, and you'll see it move on the screen here. And I'm going to stop that share and go ahead and see if I can share the astrophotography tool again. And so here's astrophotography tool, and you might see some of the screen changing a little bit, depending on the level of clouds. I haven't stepped outside to see. So now I'm supposed to be on Venus, but looks like we have a very large bank of clouds. So, you know, you can't see through the clouds with the telescope. Hey, Ernie, are you ready?
I am ready. Thank you. Thanks for saving me there.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and send it back to Ernie.
All right. So now that my stellarium is in the correct hemisphere, or the correct location, if it was clear and you were to look out to the west, this is what you would see. Obviously, you wouldn't see the constellation lines, but the moon would be a very thin crescent right now, following the sun as it goes down. And now every night as it moves on, it'll get a little bit more full and a little bit higher as the sun goes down, until ultimately when it's full and it's opposite the sky, and the sun will rise in the east when the sun's setting in the west. And of course, and if you've looked out any clear night, the last month or so, last couple months, you can't help but notice bright Venus in the west getting brighter, and actually paradoxically getting more of a crescent as it comes closer to us, relative to us in our orbits, and it's getting also larger in size. So when you look at it through a telescope, you can take pictures of it day after day after day. You can see that it's actually getting larger in size until ultimately it'll pass in front of the sun and go from being the evening star that it is now to becoming the morning star, and it will be a bright object in our morning sky in the east prior to sunrise. As it's still just after sunrise and not dark, there's not many stars or constellations visible quite yet. I will turn the constellation lines on so you can kind of get an idea of what will be there soon as it gets dark. And of course, Orion is very easy constellation to see from pretty much anywhere. The 3 stars that make up the belt are very easy to see, and that is starting to set in the west, and soon will not be with us during the night. Close to the moon is the constellation Taurus the Bull, which has its very famous V shape. I'm going to go ahead and move the clock forward to the morning, and then we're going to go to the east. So that's one of the nice things about this type of program, is you can actually manipulate the time.
Ernie, I think your screen share stopped.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
And Aaron Crawford says hello.
Oh, tell them I said hi. Oh, Aaron, if you can hear me, I said hi. I got to get back to Zoom. Why did my screen share stop? I was sharing my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because that would have been really weird. All right.
Ooh.
Okay, so as the clock is moving forward, it's now just showing about midnight. I'm going to change our position to start looking in the east. And one of the things that you can do is when you go out, if you want to know what constellations you're going to be seeing in the upcoming season a few months out, you can always go out in the morning and see what's rising. So we can see our summer constellations rising in the east, and looks like we just had a meteor or a satellite that went by. And now about 1:30 in the morning, Jupiter and Saturn have risen in the southeast. And looks like we also have a very minor meteor shower active called the Eta Aquariids. The Lyriids should be winding down as well. And Mars has now joined. So it's about 2:30 in the morning and Mars is just above the horizon. So over the coming, let's do this. Over the coming days and weeks and months, if I change the date, you'll see that the planets will be getting higher in the sky. So this is May. In June, they're much higher as well. And in fact, they will start to become visible at night. They'll have risen. And I believe Jupiter goes in opposition in mid-June and Saturn is in opposition in July, mid-July. Which means after that point, they'll be pretty much visible the entire night. So let's go back to today, actually tomorrow morning. So if tomorrow morning, it's cloudy now, it's supposed to clear up around 11 o'clock and it will actually be clear in the morning. So if you go out and you have a good view to the east, that's what you're gonna see. And just one thing to point out, I don't know if you can notice this constellation here. This is the constellation Sagittarius. And within that constellation is the asterism known as the T-spot. In the summertime, when you look south at night, this is, and in your fairly dark skies, this is actually fairly easy to recognize. And the center of our Milky Way galaxy is just off the tip of that T-spot. And in fact, the Milky Way appears as though it rises as steam out of the teapot. And having said that, do we want to go to Holly and look at some Hubble images?
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Hi.
Stop sharing my screen.
So, as we transition, some actually pretty great global astronomy news today. Today was the kind of marks the celebration by NASA of the 30th anniversary of the kind of first operational images and science taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. So this telescope is one of a kind. It's taken some of the most influential images probably of all history. I've got one behind me right there. And today they released a new one to the public. So I'm a little bit new to the screen sharing thing, but bear with me here and I'm going to try and bring this up. So while this is loading, I can talk a little bit about why we would ever even want a telescope to actually be up in space. First of all, and you'll learn this as our astronomers here are able to bring you kind of their live feeds from their telescopes. And you'll especially know it today when we've got these thick clouds. When we have all of this weather and this atmosphere kind of getting in between our eyes and our telescopes here on the ground, anything out in space, it's pretty hard to see. So when you have something like the Hubble Space Telescope all the way up above all of that atmosphere, it's going to be a lot easier to take a nice clear look at what you're really trying to look at. You won't have to wait for the clouds to break. So let's see if this will work. I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me here.
So, Holly,
Yeah.
Hubble launched exactly 30 years from today.
Oh, exactly 30 years. Perfect. Let me just double check. How are we doing, everybody? Is anyone seeing anything?
Not yet. You have to pick a window or share your entire screen.
Okay. Gotta find my window first. Here we go. And it's getting ready to share. All right, how's that looking?
Awesome.
All right. So hopefully you guys can you see my arrow as I point to things?
I can.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So this is an image actually taken of a star-forming region. Sometimes we call them nebulae, sometimes we just call them star-forming regions, outside of our own galaxy. Unfortunately, we can't see this image or anything kind of inside this image here in Buffalo because this is located in a small kind of minor galaxy near the Milky Way called the Large Magellanic Cloud. Now that was named after the explorer Magellan. He was, you know, one of the first modern people to see it, write it down, look at it kind of as he was traversing the ocean at night in a completely lightless world. So this image is about 130,000 light years away. So this just shows you really some of that awesome power that Hubble can use to get some really amazing, beautiful images. But what exactly are we looking at here? Basically, we've got kind of two main focal points here. We've got this big red wispy section, a little bit of extra color in here. And then we've also got this really strange blue ring. Now, what's kind of happening here, the whole reason that these kind of sections are different colors kind of has to do with what types of gases or substances that these star-forming regions are made out of. And of course, a lot of these star-forming regions are these patches of bright incandescent gas, but it's mixed with the same dust that may eventually collapse and turn into the planets and comets and asteroids of a different solar system one day. So Hubble likes to kind of assign certain colors to certain gases. Can anyone remind me exactly what does the red color represent? We were talking about this the other day as far as the Hubble's color palette, how it colorizes its images.
So from my understanding, the Hubble telescope has different camera sensors that can detect different wavelengths of the spectrum, basically. So that's in addition to why we want a telescope above our atmosphere. The atmosphere will absorb gamma rays, X-rays, certain types of UV light. And from my understanding, the Hubble telescope uses those sensors and it will fine tune itself to the emission rate of those particular radiant parts that are coming off of those gases or dust materials.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. So I'm glad you did.
Dennis, Mike, does that sound right? And Holly too.
Sounds good to me. So a lot of what you'll see here, you know, if we were to look at this somewhere from the ground in the southern hemisphere of the planet, we may not see such bright colors or even this much detail, which is again kind of why we have Hubble to thank for this. So in general, you know, you'll see these things and you'll know that the different colors that are getting added to these images represent different materials. The shapes themselves can also tell you a lot about how you get some of these strange patterns. If you take a look at this bright blue ring, it kind of reminds me of a blue ring octopus, but we'll talk about that in a second because that's not just one of my fleeting thoughts. The ring is actually, it looks to be a type of gas and a type of nebula that was created from the kind of late life stages of a star that actually ended up shedding its outer gaseous material. So the whole reason this is kind of round is because there used to be an older aging star right here. It eventually grew in size and sort of shook off an outer layer of gas. What we actually think is that this is similar to what the future of our sun is going to look like. So you have kind of both of those together. You've got, what would you call this, fellas? Probably something sort of like an emission nebula. Different types for different shapes and different origin stories.
Well, Holly, what's the distance across that image?
Across here? Oh, goodness. I'll have to double check that for you. I know how far away it is from us. That's 130,000 light years. So if Hubble can get such a large image of something that is, call it 130,000 times 6 trillion miles away, this is something that is pretty huge in scale, especially if we can actually pick this out of the detail of the Large Magellanic Cloud. You've got, yeah, kind of the wispy stuff. This pattern is mostly created by an aging star. And the whole reason I wanted to liken this to one of those poisonous octopi is because the kind of common name for this image is starting to, you know, come about as scientists talk about it, as the world talks about this brand new released image. They're calling it the cosmic reef, as if you've kind of got like an embankment of coral or something over here. It's kind of interesting. Looking up so completely unfathomably far and seeing patterns and colors and formations that remind us a lot of home, which I like quite a lot. So I'm just going to double check and be sure we don't have any questions. Oh, so Stephanie Radcliffe is actually turning 30 years old today. So congratulations, Stephanie. Happy birthday. Big 3-0. I'm sorry we kind of have to be spending it at home, but Hubble is thinking of you and we all are too. And hopefully this is a nice little gift for you. So I don't know, this is pretty new stuff. I may be able to talk about it a little bit more later or in later installments of this once we start studying what makes this image what it is more. But I think that's pretty much it for me now. How does anyone else feel about jumping on?
Dennis, you want to do a little imaging demonstration, or?
Well, I can try to do a little imaging demonstration. So why don't we'll give it a shot here. I've been, well, Holly was talking, I was pulling up a couple of images. One of the images that I was pulling up, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now with Photoshop. So when we actually get some photons to the telescope, let me just make sure that this is, here we go, Photoshop. When we get some photons to our telescopes, we can actually capture images. Now, we don't capture stuff like Hubble does. Now, this is a part of the Lagoon Nebula captured by the Hubble Space Telescope using some of the visible light. And we can actually see some of the clouds and gases and star forming information and the extreme detail. Now, you can't really capture this from the ground, but we can capture stuff, well, that shows up when we initially bring our images in, has a little bit of data. And we look at this data and we have to kind of tease it together. Now, this is kind of a test for me to go through and do this. So I took a section of the Lagoon Nebula that I had taken out at Beaver Meadow in Java. And in taking that image, we did some adjustments to it. And I'm just going to go ahead and do kind of a general levels adjustment on this particular one and see if I can go ahead and adjust this one back just a little bit. And you can actually see what happens on the screen when we make adjustments to this image. We can bring out some of the detail that happens all around this particular nebula. Now, I took a wide field image, so I didn't get a lot of in close detail, but you can see some of the the dust that covers up areas and some of that nebulosity that happens. And you'll have to forgive my presentation because I didn't kind of lay something out. We'll fit that on the screen, and you can see some of that happen here. Now, what I'm going to do is going to go ahead and open the final image that I got from doing this wide field of lagoon and Trifid nebula. Let's see. Oop, I don't want to do that. And I'm not going to save images there. That's the Hubble that you're seeing there again. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and open this image right here. Let's see. I'll have to.
While Dennis is opening it up, I'll mention
Yeah.
he captured that image at Beaver Meadow, which is the Buffalo Astronomical Association's dark sky site on the Audubon Society's property in Java, New York.
And so let me see if I can find, oh, here it is. Okay. So in finishing processing this image, what you see on the screen now is the entire Lagoon and Trifid Nebula with, here's the Lagoon Nebula, came out with some excellent detail in this image. And I was kind of proud of this image because it was one of my first with my field flattener on my telescope, giving me a flat image, giving me no change to the stars. And the image actually turned out pretty good because you could pick out some of that detail and some of that nebulosity and some of those star forming regions. And it's kind of fun to do. I just enjoy doing astrophotography, partly to explore the galaxy, but also to take a look at what I can do. It's fun for me. And so those are the kind of things that I do. And just one of the things, and you can kind of progress from beginning to end. And I started a real, let's see if I can find one of my images. I'm going to stop my share for a moment on Photoshop and see if I can find some of my beginning images while I look on my screen here that we might be able to share. Let's see. So astrophotography is kind of a bit of a skill. It's a learning curve, which is a lot of fun for me. Let me see if I pull up. Nope, I don't have one of those really quite handy here. Let's see here. Nope. If I can find one of my first images that I took. No, that isn't it. Let's try this one here. I'm going to try one more here before I bore everybody to tears. Well, what I'll do is I will see if I can share this screen here. I've got multiple screens up. I have to learn how to use them too. So let's pull up, it is this image right here. Let's see if we can share that. Okay, so it looks like it's sharing the entire screen, but you can kind of see what happens in astrophotography. Sometimes we get out of focus and we have to deal with our focus. And let's see if we have a couple of, this was an attempt at imaging Albireo. And it looks like we get a few little pieces of data, but you can kind of see what's happening to the images as we took some of those images. You can see the clouds going through some of the images, and this is right in here and in here as they come through. So astrophotography is a bit of a challenge too. And that's one of the reasons I find it fun. I don't know if we want to turn it over to somebody else but I don't have a whole lot more on processing. Well, this is kind of our test and our show.
Unless you have anything in the sky to show us with your telescope setup, I don't know that we have much else for tonight.
Yeah, I don't really have much. I'm going to take a look in here and take a peek at what we have on my screen now and see if I can adjust the exposure.
I think we are going to try to do this.
I've got nothing but clouds at the moment, and actually a pretty solid bank of clouds. So what I have is literally a blue screen.
Well, hopefully it's not a blue screen of death.
Well, it's not really a blue screen of death, but in terms of astronomy, yeah, let's go ahead and let's see if I can share this ZWO screen so you can see the ZWO blue screen of death, and we can adjust the exposure just a little bit. And this is what's happening right through the telescope at the moment, through the camera. We can adjust it to kind of a blue-green screen of death. But it's pretty solid in terms of clouds as to what's happening live through the telescope at the moment. So really not much to see.
So I think, we want to try this again, perhaps Monday evening.
Absolutely.
When there might be clear skies. So around the same time. I know, Adam, what's it look like your end?
I know weather-wise, we're kind of talking rain all next week, but I think they're going into on Tuesday.
No, I meant live now.
Oh, live now? No, we're all clouded out. If I had my camera out, my drone out, I'd have a nice sunset picture, and that's about it with red skies.
Okay. All right. So do we want to wrap this up?
I would say so.
I would say so too.
Yeah,
Well, thanks, everybody.
this was good. This was good.
Yeah, thank you everybody for hanging in there with us. This was fun. It was a little bit experimental on our end, but I had a good time. I hope you guys did too. Yeah, and thanks to our experts. And thanks you guys for sitting outside. I know it's not the warmest or the nicest out, and showing us what you've got remotely or not remotely.
right.
Let's see. I think
try to
we're
see you
all
Monday.
great. Yeah, we'll see you guys maybe in a few days. Otherwise, stay safe, stay learning. Happy birthday again to Stephanie. Hello again to Gabby. Anyone else have anything else to say?
Hope everyone is doing well, staying safe, and I'm glad that we could all get together remotely to enjoy our passion for astronomy and everything that goes along with it. Thank you guys for setting this up. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for being a part of it, Adam.
Thanks everybody for coming out and enjoying this. This is really nice, and we'll keep it going. This is great.
And absolutely, same goes here for me, folks. And you just kind of, keep looking up for some virtual stargazing, and we'll try to have some more for you once we get some clear skies. I may hang in here, at least keep my setup going, because around 11 o'clock, we're supposed to have some clearing, and I might even get some deep sky objects you can share with you next time.
Sounds like a plan.
Looking forward to it.
So pay attention to our social media, Facebook, Penn Dixie and BAA, and you should hopefully see an event and postings if we do go live.
All right,
Good night,
thank you
everybody.
for joining.
Sounds good.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.